Hey there, Earthlings. Thanks for tuning in to the Bardo Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Bardo, where we talk about health, happiness, and anything else that's important to us humans. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast by visiting thebardo.com or just click the little subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast. And be sure to check out my Instagram at thebardo for all the latest videos and content. Thanks so much and enjoy the episode.
It's just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come hither. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Are you ready?
Oh, happy day. Greetings and salutations, friends. Thanks for tuning in to another podcast. A lot's changed, obviously, in my career and all that, and I talk about that previously in the last episode. But this episode I thought was really fun because, during the time where I was looking for a new career, I got the opportunity to have a lot of cool guests on. One of them is what you're going to listen to today, which is Josh Clifford. So Josh has been an entrepreneur pretty much his whole life, as well as, him and his wife have done a lot of good all over the world, doing charities and volunteer work. I really enjoyed this conversation, and his company, which his company as a whole, and I'll leave all the links in the description below, but he's starting this movement I thought was super incredible, and I had to have him on the show, where he's creating the first ever free supermarket. So the free Amazon. And I know it sounds kind of complicated and we can't really wrap our head around it. I'm lucky enough to where I was in the beverage industry for many, many years, 12 years. So I kind of understand the whole distribution aspect and, the capitalistic market versus, something like a socialist market, the sharing economy, which we talk a lot about as well, which the sharing economy is like the Uber, the Lyft, all the scooters that you see going on in the world. You see that trend. It just continues to grow, the sharing economy. So he's created this new one that within the next 5 years, he's planning to open up the world's first free supermarket. It all starts with his company, Free Water. And this is a very interesting idea. And again, it's kind of hard for you to wrap your head around it. But I think if you really listen to this entire podcast, you're going to learn a lot about his goal and what he's looking to do. But it's not just free water for the consumer, because that's obviously step one. Step two is each company, like if you own a business, or even if you're a large corporation, you can advertise on this water to get your brand out there using QR codes, using augmented reality. All this is on the package that he creates. And because of that, because of the money that, the company can make, they're able to give out free water to us, the consumer. So we won't have to pay for bottles of water anymore, which is huge because it comes in a very eco-friendly, sustainable aluminum or paper carton. Those two main options are very eco-friendly and sustainable. But more importantly, which here's the key, not only does that company make money and is profitable, but he's actually allowing other companies to duplicate this model. So he's not in this thing for the long term of just making money. He's in this to help the world become not just more sustainable, but also the fact that we can really cut down the amount of plastics that we're putting on this planet. Because, of course, when we're done with them, where do you think they go? Yeah, they go in those big Pacific garbage patches that we see all over the world. So overall, it's just a really fun educational conversation. I think you're gonna learn a lot for sure, but I think you're gonna have a lot of fun in the process. I'd love for you guys to check out their Instagram and TikTok when you get some free time. Again, I'll leave all the links in the description below, but definitely check it out. Give Josh a follow on Instagram and TikTok. Before we get into today's episode, of course, I do want to thank some of our friends over at Rainforest Bowls. So you talk about sustainability, you talk about charity and helping out the planet. These folks do so much good. What Rainforest Bowls does is all these coconut shells and wood cutoffs that typically will get discarded or burnt or thrown away, they'll actually create these gorgeous utensils and kitchenware that you can use in your home every single day. And not only does it just look cooler than like a ceramic plate, but it's going to a good cause, because every tree that gets cut down, it produces about 75 coconuts. Out of those 75 coconuts, 150 coconut bowls can be created. And every single purchase of a coconut bowl goes to planting another tree. So what's great is every single time you pick up something at rainforestbowls.com, it's going to go to plant more coconut trees. So that way your purchase, you know for sure, is going to a good cause, and your kitchen's just going to look awesome. Visit rainforestbowls.com. Use the code TheBaroto. You're going to get 20% off your entire order. So thank you, Rainforest Bowls. Appreciate you. And of course, I can't forget about one of my favorite sponsors because I'm obsessed with them. Superfat. You can visit the website superfat.com, use the code Berardo10. You're going to get 10% off everything that Superfat has to offer. Great keto-friendly and vegan-friendly snacks, including my favorite nut butters like macadamia and coconut. They even have a cacao coconut, coffee and MCT. They have tons of great flavors of nut butters, but they also have keto-friendly snacks like cookie bites, baking mixes. They have little cacao chips that you can use for baking, sprinkles, all types of keto-friendly items. Visit superfat.com. Use the code Berardo10. You're going to get 10% off your entire order. So definitely visit those two sponsors out, guys. Again, you know, my main goal for this podcast gives you fun, entertaining content, but I can't do that without you sharing the podcast. So feel free to share this episode or any other episode that you enjoyed. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. By clicking that little subscribe button. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Everyone, please help me welcome my guest today, Josh Clifford. But thank you, though.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No, man, it's this is awesome, and I normally just get right into it because I'll do kind of like a solo introduction. You know, after I edit it, and we'll put in just kind of some details and some cliff notes of you and your background and all that jazz. But I mean, really, I wanted to. And I'll kind of give my viewers a little bit of background why I wanted to reach out to you. You know, me being in the beverage industry, and we talked a little bit about this earlier in the week, but it's very fascinating that only 100 years we've been doing this thing, maybe 120, 130, depending on what company you look at, but 130-something years, right? Like, we're so new to this industry, and I think it started off kind of innocent and immature, and, they wanted to get out beverages to, the masses. And then, now here we are at,
they had cocaine in it.
I wasn't going to say it, but back then it was really good and worth the money.
Yeah.
But now,
just so you know, again, this is just our first product of our future free supermarket in Amazon.
Yeah, and I noticed that too, because you just put up something that you were presenting to kind of like a Shark Tank type of.
Yeah, that was pre-pandemic when I was a lot more raw. But yeah, so we could dive into it. I think it's best to do it spontaneously because you're going to I had to reinvent 24 wheels to make all this possible. And so you're going to probably ask most of those questions. And then if you don't, I'll just throw the other wheels out there that most people.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Because the name of your company is what again?
So the parent company, the free supermarket, is Better Than Free. But our first subsidiary is Free Water.
Free Water, yeah. That's kind of what made me want to reach out to you a little bit, is because we don't understand as a consumer, and same thing with, eating healthy too. Like me I eat primarily plant-based, and I just started doing that, 4 years ago or so, and I'm doing it for health reasons. I kind of had to, but it's interesting that once you start doing the research on everything we put in our body, you realize how horrible it is for you. And, one of those is water we consume. When you talk about what goes into a bottle and where that comes from, and then how it gets to your local Publix or Kroger's or wherever you shop, and then the amount of time it sits on that shelf. And
it's not just the water. I mean,
sure.
Everything. The T-shirts that you and I are wearing will ultimately give us cancer because there's plastic in it. And so everything in the U.S., unless you're literally growing your own organic farm and pulling shit straight from the ground, we're screwed.
That's so crazy. So what is your company? What are you guys trying to strive to put out there in terms of a message, in terms of a product? What really is kind of, if you had an elevator pitch to give us?
Are we already on?
Oh yeah, we're going. Yeah, we've been going.
Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah. So I guess the 1 minute or 2 minute pitch is, so in 2015, my wife and I launched a nonprofit organization called Save the Refugees. And we were literally helping refugees in Europe that came across from the Middle East, Asia, Africa, you name it. And after helping more than 10,000 people in a little over a year, we realized they all had the same story. 80% of them were refugees because we bombed their house to the ground. and 20% of them were refugees because they didn't have access to food, water, or medicine. And so after volunteering, I was just a little upset. We did a lot of good deeds, but we didn't solve the underlying issues behind what was going on with these people.
Right.
And so the first one was, well, if you got to take care of that 80%, I mean, I was a soldier. I don't want to sound unpatriotic, but a lot of our stuff we go into is about oil. And so in order to pull those soldiers back, you got to devalue the price of oil. And so the first things that I actually worked on was how to give people free transportation and electric cars and free renewable energy. And I actually solved that in a few weeks. And so then it was the whole grocery, or food, medicine, water thing, because 35 million people die every year because they don't have water, food, or medicine. And when I say medicine, just a bar of hand soap would save 5 million children a year worldwide who die because they don't have a bar of soap. So the goal was to create a new system. I had some inspiration from Tom's and other industries such as, porn or social media, but I wanted to create a system that was so easy to save a life. If you ate a free slice of pizza or drank a free beer and you saved a life, I would have saved a lot of lives by now because I ate a lot of pizza.
Right.
And so it took me a few years to invent it. And so here we are today, and we just launched what will become the world's first free supermarket, or the free Amazon. Anything that's for sale in Costco today, from computers to a trip to Hawaii to your medicine to food, we'll offer for free in the next few years. Not just free plus charity, and we still earn greater profits than anyone who sells these goods today. And so our first product is free water.
Nice.
Here's one from my brother's gym, so it has a different look. And the water is free because the packaging is the ad space. And we design aluminum bottles and paper cartons however you want. And we could add any sort of technology you have built that connects to the internet with QR codes. And you could be shopping, you could buy a truck off of there, augmented reality, watch videos, download music, movies, TV shows. But my why, 10 cents from every beverage is donated to charity to build water wells for people in need. And when you do the math, we only need 10% of Americans to save money and drink our free product, and we'll solve the global water crisis that year forever. And that's just asking people to save money. And then I'll just let you go. Go for it.
That's crazy. I mean, there's so much to unpack there, and I know we dove a lot into the details offline, which I, again, appreciate the time and explaining it. Because for me, it makes total sense because I've been in the industry, right? So I kind of get, the distribution aspect of it and all that. And I think if someone's listening to this or watching this right now on YouTube or TikTok, they're probably thinking to themselves, well, okay, so I'm company A. So how am I going to make money, Josh, if I'm company A? Because how am I going to distribute the water? How am I going to profit from that? What about advertising? What about if I want to do TV commercials or marketing or pay for my staff? Why am I cutting out my capitalistic attitude and everything I've done for 100 years? Why would I do this to give out free product?
Okay, yeah, there's a lot to unpack in that question. The one thing I want to point out is this is more profitable. Even though we are disrupting food or beverage or Amazon, whatever you want to call it, we're actually initially disrupting the direct mail industry, junk mail, that crap in your mailbox. And junk mail, believe it or not, has the highest ROI of every ad medium in the USA. And so when done right, it has a 29% ROI. Compare that to Facebook, which is like 13 or 14%, and Google's like 6 or 7 or 8. And so it's not even close. And so that industry is worth roughly $40 billion a year still in the US. And so the industry norm is they have to send you that piece of crap in your mailbox 10 or 15 times before they could expect results. Well, the cost per free floating piece of mail with a stamp is 35 cents to $1. And so their cost per 10 impressions is $3.50 to $10 or more. Or an advertiser could spend about $1, put this in your hand. Unless they chug it, they're going to see it 10 times before they're done drinking it. Some people, I've said, they've refilled theirs for months now. And
yeah, because you can keep using it, right? It's aluminum, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a 2-year shelf life. I mean, even the paper carton, you could reuse it many times too. Not as much as the aluminum, but they have a 2-year shelf life.
Yeah.
And so this might be in your pantry making impressions for the advertiser for 2+ years before they drink out of it.
No doubt. And then two things, not to interrupt you if you had more, but one thing I love about what you said, because again, we talked about this before, but I know the answer to it. But other people out there, they're probably thinking more capitalistic type of mentality. And yeah, you are a disruptor. This is going to ruffle feathers, yada, yada, yada. But then for those people that are saying that, again, I know the answer to this, but Amazon was a disruptor of Barnes & Noble. Netflix was a disruptor of Blockbuster. Like, in more cases than not, disruptors typically supersede those other companies or subsidiaries because it is a better idea and it does make more money. And overall, you as the consumer is going to enjoy it a lot more. And this is where I kind of see, your product in the free supermarket concept coming, where we're so intelligent and we're a very young species considering, right? And we've learned so much over the time, and we thought the way we've been doing things is correct, but we're starting to see with climate change and the pollution and the materials that we use. You talked a lot about oil. We're talking about plastic now, where if you just look at the Pacific garbage patch, that alone should tell you that we've only been doing this thing for 100 years, and we have
And there's like 6 or 7 of those islands across the world.
That's right. That's right. And we've only been doing it for 100 years. That's terrifying. So the amount of destruction we could do in 100 years, and again, like I was saying earlier, I don't think when a company first started, like a big beverage company, I don't think the goal was, hey, let's make as much money as we can, and even if it, screws up the earth or ruins the average consumer, we don't care about that. We just want to make money. There's probably a lot of companies that I think maybe think that, but more often than not, people just want to make money for today. They're not focusing too much on the future. But this is where I say that we've become so intelligent that we have to get away from what we've been doing. And, I think your concept, hopefully, I saw you had a TikTok the other day where someone was like, hey, what happens if these companies copy you? And you're like, please do.
So, all right. So again, you really like digging deep in this in a different perspective. From a macroeconomic level, let me explain some stuff. Number one, before I dig into this, do you know what the sharing economy is?
I do.
So a lot of people don't, and a lot of people don't understand that the sharing economy, Uber, Facebook, Airbnb, is technically, from an economist perspective, not capitalism. And the sharing economy is currently on pace to be equal or greater in size than capitalism by 2050. But let's back up a second. So if you've got a socialistic company versus a capitalistic company, we've always been taught that if they do battle, the capitalistic company is going to win because people have more motivation to earn greater profit, whatever. But then if the capitalistic company, the taxis, or let's say hotels, square off against the sharing economy business, so hotels versus Airbnb, Uber versus the taxis, Facebook versus traditional paper media, Google versus, I don't know what was before Google. The sharing economy wins every single time because it's more efficient and it gives us access. An example, my wife, she's studying software development. She's using the sharing economy platform to meet with a tutor this week to help her with her JavaScript and some other coding. And so, but then if you had a sharing economy company, let's say Uber, versus a free economy company. If you personally had to choose, if all the quality was the same between an Uber that costs you money or the free Uber, what would you choose?
I mean, free Uber for me.
Of course. So the free economy, obviously, that beats the sharing economy. And then if you had to choose between what I call the giving economy, negatively priced products. So if you had to choose between the Uber that's going to pay you to take a ride or the free Uber, I assume you're going to get paid to take that ride. I am too. Now, if you think about on a level of competition, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Costco is capitalism. We are starting at the giving economy. So we are theoretically negative prices, which our products are priced at. They're negatively priced and we make money. So if you look at it on a macroeconomic level, we're 3+ steps ahead of Amazon. And so the reason why it's open source, and I'm open sourcing all the IP, is because you want them to copy because there's something called aggregate efficiency. Are you familiar with the term?
The term, yeah. Yeah.
So basically, aggregate efficiency is all the energy, materials, person power, everything that goes into making a product. And the peak aggregate efficiency in all of humanity was 20% in Japan in 1995. And that same year, it was only 18% in Germany and 15% in the US. And since 1995, efficiency has only gone down, even though people are more educated and we have better technology. And so even a company like Tesla, one of the most efficient companies in the US, they probably have at best 15% efficiency. And so there's actually, I found a peak amount of efficiency that you could get out of for sale products. Free products, however, can be manufactured differently. They can be distributed differently. They could get into your hands in 1/10 of the channels if done right. And so that's why it's important for the world to copy, because all these companies really care about is making a buck, even though a company like McDonald's might have 95% loss in their efficiency. And so when you buy that $3 Big Mac, it doesn't price in all of the global destruction, because if it did, that would be a $10 sandwich and not a $3 sandwich. And so the Coca-Colas, they can't just copy and squish us, because they built their factories for a world where things cost money. And when things cost money, you build these big, massive factories, and then you ship your product across the city, the state, the country, the world. The further you ship it, the worse it is for the environment, but the worse it is for the company's profits and the consumer's wallet. But when done right, free products encourage a decentralized micro factory model. So like a McDonald's is on every corner, we will one day have a free facility for groceries on every corner. And that gives all of the local community their stuff for free. You could come pick it up for us, and we're going to pay you to take it away, or we're going to give you free local delivery. And those companies, as they're built today, could never offer free local delivery, and they could never pay you to take it away. But we can. We could earn more than them when they're even selling it.
Yeah. No, that's huge, man. And again, I love the concept, just because I think we're all at the point now to where everyone's eyes are starting to get opened up a little bit more. We're starting to understand our global impact and our structure. And, you know, it's interesting that, because it sounds like you've done not just work in the U.S., but I know we talked about you're very passionate about, you know, third world countries and places that don't have what we have. And it's so interesting when you actually want to dive in and do that research and look into that and realize that, you know, you got your neighbor that's bitching about 5G service when like there's people across the pond, man, that don't even have clean drinking water. I mean, shit, there's people in Flint, Michigan that don't even have clean drinking water. So it's, you know, we need to get away from this kind of bubble that we're in, right?
It's a big bubble. I mean, speaking of a bubble, there was a refugee that I helped and worked with 5 years ago. He's a good friend. His name's Fareed. His sister right now is still stuck in Afghanistan. She worked for our government for 4 years, and we just kicked her to the curb. She's literally hiding under the floorboards right now because the Taliban is taking the pictures of everyone that worked at her USAID organization and is hunting them all down one by one to kill them and to rape and impregnate women. And she's asking us if we can help somehow, and I said I can't, because we don't have a helicopter and soldiers, and I don't even know how we could. She asked if we could adopt her, but she's in her 20s. It's not possible. And so, I mean, most people were worried about the gas prices and how you're gonna buy your kid the next Nintendo, video game system. And but I mean, there's some really fucked up things going on in the world right now.
Yeah, big time. And we're very fortunate in America because we are, I don't want to say privileged, because there's a lot of people in America that obviously don't have what other people have, but if you look at like on a macro perspective, America is one of the richest, not in terms of like debt, debt to profit ratio. We're not going to get it because we're actually in debt big time. But in terms of like what you see on a daily basis and you look around compared to like maybe a Russia or in Africa or even Europe, like we're very privileged. And I love your concept, in particular, because if someone told me, hey, listen, even just a a normal purchase that I buy. I mean, what's a good bread? When I go out and buy bread, if someone's like, hey, each bread's the same, but if you pay an extra dollar for this bread, they taste the same, it's the same company, but if you pay an extra dollar for this loaf of bread, that dollar is going to go to a good cause. Me as a human, and I think a lot of people would take that route of paying a little bit extra because we could afford to. So your concept in particular is very intriguing to me because it's not only offering free service to the consumer, but if people just open up their eyes and get away from these big billion-dollar companies and say, hey, listen, man, it's water, I need it, but there's other people that don't, the free plus charity aspect of your business is huge. And I don't think, no one's doing the free concept, obviously, but the free plus charity, I think, is even better because everyone wins. And then, of course, the companies that can advertise on your products are huge as well. So it's just something that we have to really think about because it's going to be too late, I think. I mean, imagine the millions of people that we've already lost because of our selfishness. We need to kind of change our ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sticky situation. There are companies that just came out that like Tom's Shoes or other companies that charge an upcharge. So that way, if you buy that loaf of bread or pair of shoes, it helps somebody abroad. But we wanted it to be so simple. Again, just drink some water, save a life. And so how much more simple can that be? And so at full realization, our products will be discounted at 150% off. So from the person that consumes it, they get the product for free local delivery, the donation to charity, and they receive our future digital currency for consuming it. Yet we'll still earn between 25 cents and $1 per. And that has nothing to do with, hey, if there was a Tesla Roadster on the box and you decided to buy it, in the future, we'll charge 2% from the advertiser. And so the physical packaging makes us our money. And then all the little extras that you could have with technology, that's just the icing on the cake. But the real money to be made is in the cost savings by improving your company's aggregate efficiency. And so if I hand you $10 or I save you $10, it's the same value in your pocket. And so we have to do both. We have to bring in the revenue streams that don't currently exist in food or beverage, but then you have to reinvent everything that came before us to make sure we're not one of those companies that has a 90% loss in efficiency.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't work.
That's right. And then for those companies, I mean, do you think, in America in particular, because obviously we've taken our corporations here, like the McDonald's of the world and things like that, and we've brought that over to, countries like China that, went from having primarily plant-based and healthier to now they have our Western American diet and we've fattened them up as well. But where do you think it kind of came into place to where these big corporations maybe grew too quick and they looked at their bottom line and they're like, we need to do what we can to cut corners, and this is where maybe it happened where they're starting to process foods now because it's cheaper that way because they can't cut their factories, to your point earlier, where they built this infrastructure maybe too quickly without thinking about the long-term effects, not just of the planet, but also financially for their business. So now it's too late. So now they're kind of making, cutting corners in other ways. I mean, what do you think where that gap was?
Again, my perspective on people get upset with me, even my wife, because to some people, the definition of capitalism means somebody makes money off of somebody else's injustice, However, I look at it a little bit differently. I look at socialism, capitalism, the sharing economy. They're like the three amigos here for me, in my perspective. And so basically any of those, the stock market, I mean, if McDonald's doesn't sell more cheeseburgers every quarter for the rest of humanity, their stock drops. But if they did that, the whole world would be over. Also, like, think of all of our military companies that are making tanks and drones. It's like if they don't produce more bombs and bullets every quarter, and it's a really screwed up system. And so again, if you want to make a product free that's in the physical world, a physical product, not software, but physical, better than free. So it's like, I need to be profitable at negative prices. You have to look your business model in the mirror and be like, what do we not need? Like, what is redundant? What is wasted? What is just there because of us copying everyone who came before us?
Right.
And then after you take out all those useless pieces, and there was hundreds of them, then you're just like, well, what can I add that's not currently there to bring in more money than ever before? And so it's a different perspective, because if a product's better than free, which again is our parent company name, you could only make a product better than free a few ways. I have to either pay you directly, I have to donate to the charity, or some charity or cause, or I have to kind of improve the local community or the environment in such a way where people perceive it as, wow, that's a service to me, other than paying cash. Those are the only ways that you can make a product better than free. And so what we're here to do is we're setting the bar high, and we're that catalyst for this competition in negatively priced products, because that's what I believe is the answer to hopefully stunting at least our destruction to the environment, and getting this out of here. Because otherwise it's just the same thing. It's like, well, how many trees do we need to cut down to grow more beef that's just going to get thrown away anyways? Go for it. You know, how many?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so much waste out there, and I work with a lot of sponsors on my podcast, like Rainforest Bowls, who they actually take coconut shells and wood cutoffs from when they do destroy trees. This company comes in and says, whoa, don't burn those. We'll take them, and we'll actually create like bowls and utensils and all types of stuff, and then they take 10% of those profits and they plant more trees in another part of the village. So, but their battle is tough, because they're fighting this battle over and over and over, and companies keep getting bigger and bigger and wanting to chop things down to make more shit that we don't need. It's
I think the key is the profitability. I've done the nonprofit thing twice now, and the reason why I did this in a for-profit manner was because my perspective is there's a reason why a nonprofit hasn't saved the world yet, and it's because nobody gets rich. And so I was like, I think my plan was, in order to really save the world, you've got to make some people get rich while doing it. And so for the investors to make more and more profit, they've got to save a bunch of lives in the environment, or they just no money in their pocket.
Yeah, that's so true.
So, my wife, she's from the country of Serbia. I was living with her in Belgrade when we invented a bunch of this stuff. And one of the most famous Serbs was Nikola Tesla. And we would visit his museum. We lived a mile away. We would walk there every week. And in the museum, it was a very humble, small museum, it said that Tesla was pretending to invent the radio. He had already invented it, but he was really looking for investment to give people free wireless energy. And one day he supposedly figured it out, and he contacted his backers and said, hey, guess what? I found a way to give everybody free energy. It's going to be great. It's going to prevent wars. And they supposedly took his money away, and that was it. And so but after thinking about that, because I'm like, well, how is this not going to end up in the same situation? And so after going there 50 times, what I realized is, Tesla was kind of antisocial. He had really bad OCD. He had to walk around every building before he entered the front door 3 times. He wasn't the best communicator. But what if he would have said, hey, guess what? I found a way to give everybody free wireless energy, but wait, before you say anything, it's 100 times more profitable than selling anything today. If he would have just said that, it would have been like, here's some more funding, right? And so I knew, okay, it can't just be free, or it can't just be free water that pays you to drink it. You got to have the ability to earn $1,000 off of a single free beverage. And we do, because when you buy your Tesla Roadster off of there, in the future we will, just off the commission alone.
That's huge, man. Yeah, and again, we've become so intelligent, so smart that, if you started this company, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you thought of this idea 10 years ago, it wouldn't have much juice, mustard, or even profitability behind it, because the technology is not where it is. I mean, the QR code has been around for quite some time, but I think a lot of companies have, had this technology available but aren't using it the right way. So for you, and we talked a lot about like AR and things like that, that to me, because the companies I've worked for, I've been pitching AR for quite some time. because, you know, you look at like something stupid as like the Pokemon phenomenon, right? Like the game. But that alone got people outside. It got, you know, it got kids interacting with other kids outside. You're not necessarily just in a room by yourself playing video games. Is it a video game? Yeah, kind of, but the technology continues to grow, and if we're not using it the right way, and we're focusing on billboards on the highway versus something like what you're doing, which is you're giving out free water, but water's something we need. We're made of water, 70%. It's, you know, I love the fact if you had something where it's like, hey, Tony, I thought of this thing where it's called free Oreos, and every time you bite an Oreo, there's an advertisement. I wouldn't be having you on the show because that doesn't make sense to me. I don't believe that. But water's something we need, and you're taking something we need, and you're also using the ability that we have from a technological standpoint to actually advertise, make money, and get things out there to the consumer, and profit, you know, companies at the same time. So it's huge, man.
It's definitely a timing thing. What happened for me, again, I was working on free autonomous transportation at that point of this, and I still will launch that. But the free water business model is my free taxi business model dumbed down 99%. And so we were filming in the States. We were in New York City, Times Square, streets of Boston, Sundance Film Festival, all around the country, asking people on the street what they thought about free transportation. I had a guy filming, and I had to go into a convenience store. I think we were in Times Square, and he was thirsty, so I went to go buy water, and that's when I saw one of these. A box of boxed water is better, a big one, a 1 liter one. And then I stared at it because I was already thinking about free, all these other things, pharmaceuticals. And then the light bulb went off. Wait a minute. We were printing the missing people on the milk cartons 50 years ago. Printing has to be better now. And then wait a minute. Everyone has a smart device in their pocket now with a built-in QR code reader. And then so any sort of, you could print anything here, but then any sort of digital connection there. And then I was like turning this around, and I'm like, these are a really uncreative company. The logo's not very sexy. Look at this wasted real estate right here. And then this is my favorite side. They didn't know what to put, so they just wrote hello. and then on the fourth side, it says up to 1% for the planet.
Oh, Jesus.
And then this company's also, you know, we'll get into that. But,
yeah, but we know what that means.
Yeah, I saw this. I went home. I spoke to my mom, and my mom was just like, listen, you're no Elon Musk. She's like, you've got some pretty big ideas here, but no one's going to give you a car company or an electricity company. So she was like, how many lives would you save every year if autonomous transportation was free to everyone in the world? I said 1 million. She's like, how many lives would you save if water, food, and medicine was free? So we Googled it, and it was about 35 million. And she's like, there you go. Like, making a water free is more meaningful and easier than making a self-driving car free, or any car. And then once you prove yourself with, you know, pizza, water, Advil, Tylenol, cough syrup, then you could go raise the money you need, or go talk to an Elon Musk and then show him how you can make his Teslas free.
Smart.
And
Mothers know best, man.
Yeah, and so that was winter. That was spring of 2018 when she told me that, and so I dropped working on free pharmaceuticals, energy, and transportation. Got into the groceries. It took me about another year just to iron all these things out, because and then I moved back to the States and full time with my wife, and here we are.
And how old were you at the time, Josh? When you first came up with this idea in Times Square, you're saying, what was it, 2018?
Well, so you got to go back in time a little bit. So, for my 30th birthday, I sold everything to go on a trip around the world.
Nice.
And my goal was 100 countries in 4 years. That's actually how I came across these refugees, which got me to volunteer. But before I met a refugee, on that trip around the world, I had learned one main valuable lesson, which was I hated taxi drivers, because it didn't matter. You could be in Hong Kong, you could be in Amman, Jordan, Cairo, Egypt, Budapest, Hungary. If you're foreign, they always found a way to cheat you on the meter. So then I started using Uber wherever available. But if you're in northern Africa or the middle of small town in Jordan, imitation Uber is shadier than the taxi. And so the final straw was I was on the way to a music festival in Budapest, Hungary, in the summer of 2015. One of the largest music festivals in Europe. They call it the Burning Man of Europe. It's called Siget.
Oh yeah.
And the Uber driver pulled over and pulled a knife out on me and tried to rob me. And I got out of the car and I walked the last 3 miles to the music festival. And I was just like, fuck Ubers, fuck taxis, fuck paying for cars in general. I'm going to figure out how to make all this stuff free. And so that's where I started working on this. And within 90 days, actually within three weeks, I created these processes. And then I was in Rome right after. And then I had met these refugees. And then their story was so sad. I dropped everything. I started volunteering. And then when I was working with them, I was thinking like, okay, I'm going to make airlines free first, and cars, and then this, and then that. But then again, like you just keep hearing the same thing. Like we've got no water, we've got no food, we've got no medicine, and then I mean it's just weird how everything just kind of came into a hatred for taxi drivers, plus meeting some refugees, and then some good advice from my mom, and here we are.
That's how it all starts, man. It takes that one thing, and then mom's reassurance, and then boom, and you're good. So let's dive in, because I didn't realize we're almost at an hour already. So are you good on time, by the way?
I've got as much time as you have.
I appreciate it. Very cool. Because I want to get into what you're doing over at Austin. So are you based out of Austin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So because I notice now you're kind of getting to the point where you're distributing free water. And you're at that point now, right? Is that only in Austin, or are you doing any other cities or states? How's that going?
Okay, so we've got two business models here, and they both have an infinite number of possibilities. We've got B2B, which is currently how we make all of our money. For now, B2C is the future, but B2B means any company or organization can place an order, and we'll design paper cartons or aluminum bottles, however they want, add whatever features they want with QR codes, and we ship it to them. And they distribute it. And in the B2B model, I can't control whether the company gives it away for free or resells it. Or, for example, this is my brother's gym. They like to do both. Nice. Because they sell some. And so all we could control is that 10 cents per beverage goes to charity. In the and again, going back to the B2B model, it's important that you allow them to sell it or give away, because some companies will never give away free water. For example, a restaurant that's selling bottled water for $4 a bottle. They're not just going to take away their revenue stream, but now they're going to sell you their flyer. The menu's going to be here. Their best offer, it's going to say, hey, 2-for-1 cheesecakes at the end of your meal. Hey, scan this QR code, make a reservation for your next meal, 20% off. Yeah. And so now they're, with the same amount of money down, now they're selling you advertising. And that's going to bring more money into their pocket. So another example of that is like, I'm from LA originally. It's like a Lakers game. They're never going to give you a free water, soda, beer at the Lakers game because it's $10 a water. Yeah. But what they're going to do is they're going to put LeBron James on the packaging, all the stars, whatever. They're going to sell it to you. You're going to scan the QR codes to see highlight reel stats, try to sell you season tickets, you name it. Then we've got the B2C model, which is what you...
Sorry, Josh, but before you get into B2C, because the B2B to me that's my world. That's where I've lived in for almost 15 years. So to me, that makes total sense in the world. But for other people, I don't think they understand the exciting part about that model, because if I run a company and, I'm going to charge you X amount of dollars anyway for a product, I might as well charge you the same for, quote unquote, like you said, a flyer. But now I love the fact they're resealable and you can keep using them. But now instead of using like a Grizzly or a Yeti cup, and I'm the consumer and I'm filling up this blank, like I have one here. It's a Grizzly cup. It's blank. There's nothing on it. But if I had my business on thousands of bottles every single day in my city, and it has my website, it has my logo, it has my LeBron James or whatever I'm advertising at the time, and then, of course, a QR code and something interactive, like whether it's a game or a website or something like that. Now I'm going to get that consumer every time they drink a bottle of water to look at that and say, oh, shit, I haven't been to PF Chang's lately. Let me go to PF Chang's. And I'm looking at that bottle of water every single time I fill it up when I put it in my
And
pantry or
not
my
just
fridge.
you, because if you and I are sitting down at like a coffee place right now, I'm trying to look at you, but all I'm going to see on that beverage is, oh, 2-for-1, Danishes or inside or whatever.
Right.
And then if you just write the simple phrase, please refill me at least once, people will, and they
That's
do.
huge.
And some people have held them for 2 months now, and they're just, and so it's like, it's like if you're selling your flyer.
Yeah.
But now let's even take it further. Imagine you've got a location and you've got a great audience and you don't even want your information on the packaging. Now you could go and line up the advertisers on all 4 sides and you could upcharge them. Maybe you sell this for twice the amount. And now you're getting, and our cost starts at $1 for this, but maybe you sell this for $2. And now all of a sudden you're getting paid $1 per to give them away or resell them.
Wow. Yeah.
And it could be
a lot of things.
subsidized. It could pay you to give it away. It's a blank canvas. This should have the CDC's, if I knew them, I would be like, they would say social distance, learn more about your vaccine. It could be humanitarian aid, any sort of use.
Scan a QR code and find the closest place to get vaccinated. Like there's a lot of things. And just so we're all clear, so the expense of I'm a business, let's say I own PF Chang's. So your cost is fixed no matter what. So I'm paying you X amount of dollars for whatever, and then I could do whatever I want with that design, bottle, I could charge whatever I want, but your cost, if I'm paying you, Free Water Company, that's fixed. Nothing's different.
Fixed. That's fixed. Our donation to charity is fixed. Every 50,000 plus built a water well. So if you were a PF Chang's, you would be building water wells every single week. And then imagine the kind of PR too. I mean, that's something that you would want to advertise. Hey, in 5 years, PF Chang's already saved 1 million lives. I mean,
it's huge.
I'd go eat it twice as often.
Right. As opposed to McDonald's messages as we've sold 1 billion hamburgers. But instead they could put on that stupid marquee, we've saved 1 billion lives. That to me, if I'm a consumer, I would want to go to McDonald's more. Yeah.
And then and then going to the B2C. And so B2C, we're starting to be recognized with TikTok right now. We're currently at about 1,500 free beverages per week in Austin. And then what's been great is we film that every so often, every interaction, every 1 in every 50 interactions gets filmed, puts on the internet, and that's how advertisers find us. But we're in the middle of closing a round right now. So the next steps will be for us B2C in Austin is we're going to put free water trucks and free vending machines on the streets of Austin. And then that's going to enable us to increase our volume, therefore unlocking a bunch of LOIs from advertisers who want us to distribute 10,000 plus beverages a month for them. And then we test out those free trucks and free vending machines in Austin, and then we scale that across the country. And so that's the next baby step. And then all of a sudden, when we've got somewhere between 250,000 and 500,000 beverages distributed, and I believe we'll reach that in 6 to 9 months, 12 at the latest, that's when we shop around to go public.
Nice. That's awesome, man. And then so if I'm a average Joe Schmo, what does Josh need? What does the company need right now to continue to grow and to move? What to you is the big benefit that you need?
We need help spreading the word. We need more advertisers, and we're looking for the right investors, people who primarily want to change the status quo, and people who obviously want to join the company. And so we're very fortunate that right now hundreds of people in every category have been reaching out, and awesome. Ultimately, we'll be raising $5 million to first create our first micro factory in Austin. And that $5 million will enable us to manufacture 150 million of these a year at $1 per face value. So 5 million gets us 150, which then makes another 15, and that doesn't include the shopping or any of the other revenue streams.
So those are blank, right, Josh?
No, 150 million printed.
Everything out the door. Got
everything. Everything.
Yeah.
And then that makes us 15 more micro factories across the country. And to put things into perspective, it will take us 23 micro factories to give the entire city of Austin or San Francisco, every single person, 3 free beverages per person per day,
Wow.
including free local delivery.
That's awesome. And then at the same time, you're taking that, and how many people can you give free water to everywhere else?
Totally. Yeah. And so,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we've got a few exciting rounds ahead of us. And then, yeah, I mean, I didn't invent the machines that make 100, 2 machines make 150 million of these in a year. We're just buying the machine. I didn't invent the prices of the junk mail industry advertising or YouTube. I didn't invent the phone or the QR code scanner or the QR code, Toyota did. I'm just decent at mixing all these things together in a new way, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And then of course, if everyone can get on board, and again, if I look at a company and I own a company, I'm looking at this thing like, not only am I going to be able to profit my business using this model, but the good that you're going to do to the consumer, to the people that don't have clean drinking water, et cetera, et cetera. And like you said, you could, as a company, use that as a PR play and say, oh, I'm doing this and I'm helping that. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're all team human. That's the big thing I talk about on my podcast, which I don't know if you've listened to any clips or anything, but the big thing for me is I talk about and I talk about it a lot, we're so intelligent, we're so smart, and we need to look around and say, if we all do better, like if you look at your poor community down the street, Dave Chappelle has a really great bit, and it's not funny because, he's very edgy when it comes to that, but there's one line that stuck out to me a few years ago in one of his specials where he goes, you're not going to be able to fix the world, but you can fix your block. And that resonated big time with me a few years back. And I think if more people had that concept of just turn around, look around your community, look at each corner, and if you can help your community and that community can thrive and become a better community, then we're all going to help each other. And we're all going to be on this planet as long as we can. So we just really have to take advantage and help each other, because if there's a poor part of the community that we can fix and make better, well, then that's a win for Team Human. That's a huge positive. If everyone could be in a better spot, then everyone wins. There's no downfall to that.
I think Team Human's the best way to put it. I always go the team perspective. I look at the world as one team. And if you think of like whatever your favorite sport is, if you watch sports, the championship team always has a very deep lineup. If any of the starting players gets hurt, someone just as good comes up off the bench and so we can't ever reach our full potential in the U.S. when you have people in some of these other countries living off of $1 per day, no internet, no electricity, no running water. The only way for us to be at our peak, it is that team effort, and you really gotta. So that's the trick, is you gotta be able to heal the environment. You want the economy to grow, and you want to uplift those people all around the world with them not having to use coal and all the fossil fuels. Just bring them straight to renewables. And
because we're smarter, we've learned better ways.
Yeah, so once we've got those micro factories and we're shipping you the water straight to your door, that's when we offer free soda, free beer, free cannabis, we're legal, free groceries, free clothing. Every one of these products will then donate to a different cause. And so our second product, we're not sure what it's going to be yet. It could be free soda, free beer, or free marijuana. We're legal. That one will be donating to restoring the reefs and to replanting kelp forests. If you research it, planting kelp forest produces far much more oxygen. And you need to heal the oceans. You guys are in Florida, as we talked about earlier. You've got the massive red tide going on.
It's crazy. Yeah, and then more kelp obviously is going to be huge. People don't understand that. I don't know the numbers, the metrics, I wish I did, but versus a tree, how much oxygen it permits, it's huge.
Yeah, we need both. We need both.
We need both, of course. Yeah, yeah, of course. We definitely need more of that than we do like buildings and factory farms and shit like that. Like people, we waste so much time and money and energy making these little, man-made fish farming facilities all on the coast, when really if we focus more on kelp and reefs, it's actually going to help the
Well,
planet
kelp is a
more.
huge industry now. Now kelp is becoming a multi-billion-dollar industry because people found a way to monetize it. But
Shocker.
you know, let's say what if we snapped our fingers right now and everything was the most eco option today? Honestly, I don't want to sound cynical. I think we're still too late because we've produced so much plastic to this point that you could cover the entire country of France with this thick of a solid slab. And again, it's raining plastic on us now. Any country in the world, you've got microplastic in the rain. You've got so many things. Just the plastic alone, I think we're done. Yeah. I don't think it's. I mean, again, I don't want to sound cynical. I don't think it's fixable, and we're not stopping. I mean, that's if we stop today. It's unfortunately not going to stop today. I'm a big proponent of a plastic tax in the future.
Yeah, which you know, and there's a lot of companies that are doing some real good, like the company I know we talked about 4Ocean before. Those guys are great over there, and then also Ocean Cleanup, which you know they focus a lot on the Pacific Harbor. But even then, the millions of dollars they spend, the investor, they have not even made a dent. It's unbelievable. I mean, obviously, if you look at them, they've done billions of pounds of plastic. But in terms of like on a macro scale, if we keep producing it and going at the same rate, now you're making a company like Ocean Cleanup or 4Ocean work harder.
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
I've been to 40 plus countries. One time I spent a year and a half traveling America in an RV. I've been to a lot of places, not as many as some, but what I've realized is there's no pristine places left on Earth. You go to like these places that I'll find in a guidebook and some islands in Panama, and the guidebook will say this is like the most beautiful beach with a rare butterfly and whatever. We go on this 3-mile hike to get there, and it's just a big trash dump, literally. You go to like Petra, which is in Amman, Jordan, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and you're looking at some of these famous sites where like, you know, Indiana Jones went in and there's trash everywhere. I mean, you go to the most famous sites, the most pristine forest, you know, you go surfing in Indonesia and you think there's a jellyfish on your back and it's just 10 plastic bags. And it sucks, you know, like Indonesia has some of the naturally the nicest beaches and waves and then you're just covered in trash. Yeah.
And then here's what I've realized too, talking to a lot of climate change organizations like the Volo Foundation. I've had them on the show, the founders of that, which they're based out of Jupiter, Florida. And I've been on their podcast as well because I was a big proponent of climate change, still am, obviously. And I try to do what I can to help. But it's funny how, you know, we went to Costa Rica, me and the wife, for our honeymoon. I think that was, 3 or 4 years ago? I'll cut this part out. I don't remember. So that's a problem. She's going to beat my ass for that one. But we went like 4 years ago. And, you know, Costa Rica is, you ever been to Costa Rica?
6 times.
6 times. Okay. All right. So I'm preaching to the choir here. Unbelievably gorgeous place. And we went there and it was so egotistical to me that the second we got to like our little private island, it was a Tortuga Island, which is, if you're familiar, gorgeous, unbelievable place. And there's like, I don't even know if you count them as staff because they're just villagers that live there and they'll sell you, you know, they'll show you like shrimp food. They got all types of little huts and stuff, right? So we look at that and then we look around the corner and we see this massive buildup of plastics. And we're like, oh my God, that's horrible. I can't believe that. And then we thought to ourselves, this beautiful destination, you know, and this is what we're looking at. But little do we realize, this is the egotistical thought process of a human being. Little do we realize they don't sell plastic on Tortuga Island.
No, that's your plastic.
That's from the country. That's us. We did that, and it traveled all the way over. And in that time frame, whether it was a year, 2 years, 3 years, or 10 years, it broke down so many thousand times to these microplastics to where now it's in the fish. Now it's affecting animals, and we're so stupid that we think, oh my God, it's ruining our Instagram picture. Little do you realize it hit 1,000 animals on the way from one island to the other, and we're decimating the oceans.
More than that. I mean, more than that. And it's, yeah, I mean, it's
sad, man.
Again, the key is improving the lack of efficiency, and so and also having other alternatives. And so another raise that we'll be doing in the future is a $10 million raise to produce the world's first 100% hemp carton.
Oh,
Plastic
cool.
cap, everything made from a single plant. And this is what this is going to do for us. I was in the Army for a couple of years. From a military standpoint, they say when you go to battle or war, you need to make sure your supply chains can't get cut off. And so eventually Coke and Pepsi are going to be so pissed, they're going to call our manufacturers, be like, stop doing business with them immediately or we won't do business with you.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we need to be into these. And so what's going to happen is, so today, this is the most eco-friendly container on Earth today. It's not eco-friendly. It's only eco-friendly. These are only eco-friendly compared to a plastic bottle.
And for people just listening, FYI, one's aluminum
and one's paper.
Paper.
So a little plastic.
Quote unquote, the best, the most eco-friendly.
And so let me explain this paper carton right here. Yeah. These trees were cut down in North America. They say, oh, they were grown responsibly. Tell that to all the animals and organisms that lost their home when you cut down that tree. It was milled, and just with what you know about aggregate efficiency, that means there's a massive loss of materials and energy. Then the particle boards got shipped to Saudi Arabia, and there's still a little bit of the plastic bin, that's where they put it. Then they shipped this all the way back to the United States to a different facility to put in the inside lining and this cap and stuff. And then where did it go after that? To Amsterdam to do the printing. And then it gets shipped to the manufacturer in the US. They fill it with water. Then it usually goes to an intermediate warehouse and then to the supermarket and then in your hand. But in the future, so compare that, the most eco today, compare that to, we're going to grow the hemp at location A. We're going to turn it into this water box at location A, advertise on it at location A, fill it with liquid at location A, give it away at location A or within a short few mile distribution radius of it, and then we're going to pay our members our future digital security so our milkman, trashman like people can pick it up from you so we could dispose of it properly. Not only is that a zillion times greener, it's so much more profitable because it's going to allow us to manufacture this for the same price or cheaper that Coca-Cola is manufacturing a plastic bottle. And so, and I mean that, but you could only do that when the products are free, because if it wasn't free, you could still do that, but then you'd still have to ship it and then sell it, and it would still be way greener. But again, when it's free, you could make it at location A, get rid of it at location A, and that's how it's going to be with your future organic groceries, because we live in a time, luckily, where vertical indoor farming hydroponically, one shipping container grows the equivalent of acres upon acres upon acres of land. And then we've got 3D printing. And so nothing needs to be sourced from every planet or every corner of the planet. Like if you look at a box of Kashigo lean cereal, they'll actually advertise, we've got ingredients from 8 different countries. And that's like their selling point. They should be, I don't want to say shot for that, but they should be fined for that.
Yeah. At least reprimanded or something. I mean, there's got to be
bad cereal.
Bad boy. Yeah, that's not okay.
But all of that stuff could be done at location A, indoors. All the materials can be made at location A at the same facility.
And for people to understand that distribution process, the reason why most companies anyway, not all of them, but most companies, the reason they do that is because it's cheaper, which is crazy to think. It's cheaper, quote unquote, to do it outside in the third world country and then bring it back because of...
It's only cheaper because of the labor prices, but they're not considering their loss of efficiency.
That's right.
Because these publicly traded companies are still making more money quarter over quarter.
Yeah.
So they're just like, fuck the efficiency. Let's make some money. But what they'll really, again, when they realize that like us and the companies who copy are making more money paying people to consume free products, I mean, they're going to have to copy or die. And then, and again, they're going to be like, it's open source. Shit, let's copy. That's and right. If Nestle called right now, I'll tell them every one of our secrets.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we're fucked.
That's right. And not only is that super noble of you, but people don't understand that. Again, you're using an iPhone and you're asking yourself, why is it costing me 8, 9, whatever, $900 for a phone? Well, the only reason they could charge that, make money, and also have everything that's crazy that's included in the iPhone is because they're paying some cat over the pond 30 cents to make your phone. Where if they did it in America, we as the selfish Americans that we are would say, I need $15 per hour to make that iPhone. And
I mean, again, if the aggregate efficiency was improved, you could actually make the iPhone paying someone $20 an hour for cheaper.
right.
But since they're not capitalizing on the loss of efficiency, instead they have these plants in China, which are ruthless. There's been stories I've heard about. They put a net, no windows, and a net under the Apple building supposedly because people are just launching themselves off the building because the hours are so horrendous.
Good God.
And so it's like, I mean, that's I don't want to call it capitalism because I group capitalism, socialism, the sharing economy again as the three amigos, but I just group that as the stock market as we know it today.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's again, it's kind of funny because we're at the point now to where they need a little disruption, right? They need folks like you to think of ideas like this. Folks like Elon Musk, which again, I know he's got a lot going on as well, but he did disrupt the industry. I mean, you look at what he's done with Ford, Volkswagen. I mean, every single person is doing electric now.
So since you're bringing him up, what I want to explain is something. So what I explained earlier with all of the different economic platforms from socialism to the negative economy, we already have that today in some products. For example, a solar panel. If you buy a solar panel and put it on your roof, you bought it with capitalism. But then it produces energy that sometimes you don't need and it resells it to the grid. That's the sharing economy. One day it's going to pay itself off. It's going to get to zero for a moment. That's the free economy. And then it pays you. That's the better than free economy. In the physical world, we're the only company that I know of today in better than free, other than the solar panel example. But now Tesla is soon to launch the self-driving software that really fully drives itself, the robo-taxis. You buy the car with capitalism. It gives rides when you're not using it. It starts paying you. And so that's why some of their products, starting with the solar systems, are 3 steps ahead of a Jeff Bezos or Amazon, which is still just run-of-the-mill capitalism only.
Yeah, no, it's a great example. I'm glad you brought out solar panels because to me that is just so funny. That's a great example of not necessarily quote-unquote disrupting, because it is, of course, naturally, but it's interesting how we needed to understand that process because for years we've been using electricity and not realizing that you have the biggest outlet in the universe above us, the sun, and you can generate this energy. But it's even more funny because I'm getting some installed in my home as well. But it's so funny how we have FPL here, Florida Power and Light. And if I don't go through like a company like an Elon Musk, if I just get regular solar panels, it'll pay for itself eventually. But whatever energy I don't use, that gets distributed, which is great because I'm sharing. But if my power goes out tomorrow, I don't have power unless I have a generator hooked up to my panels. And that's what people don't understand is that's how selfish and shitty companies are, to where I'm getting the sun, I have the panels on my roof, but now these companies, they give me a nice little tax break, yippee, but I still have to pay, right? But what Elon's been able to do, which I love because I have a Tesla, and I love the idea of the power wall, where it'll store your energy you're not using. You don't report your meters or shit to the electric company. And if your power does go out, you'll actually have enough energy to power your home for 2-3 days. And that to me is like a great example of where we can be. And we're in the very early stages of it, but there's so many opportunities out there to make things better.
There's a lot. You just got to, the system is very corrupt, as you would hear Elon Musk say. But that's why we tried to create, that's why it took me so long to bring this to the market, because I knew that the product had to be lobby proof. Right. What I mean by that is the first politician who tries to pass legislation to shut down the world's first free supermarket will never get reelected again. But when Uber launched, the taxis, pulled on the sleeve of their lobbyists, and they passed rules in many cities. Or an Airbnb, what the lobbyists did for them and the legislation was in many big cities such as Paris or I believe Atlanta, and you can't rent your Airbnb for anything less than 30 days. So that's how the lobbyists were able to fight back against them. It didn't completely shut them down,
but still to the day that's going on for both those companies. Yeah.
Yeah, and so but again, those companies aren't saving the world or doing something, so
noble.
So yeah, a movement, you have to start somewhere. It's got to be profitable. I know so many people doing amazing things, but their nonprofits are only scalable with donations, and so then it's not self-sustaining, So
well, listen, I mean, the donation aspect, and I have, again, like the guys at Volo Foundation, a couple other folks that I know run nonprofits. It is great, but there's so many great foundations out there. Unless you're making $250,000 a year and you decide to donate to every single charity, you as a regular Joe Schmo, there's not a whole lot you can do to donate to all these different charities. So it's not fair to the foundations, but that's just the bottom line, to where a system like yours in place to where you're consuming something that you physically need, like you have to have it. And, it's benefiting everybody, 3 different ways. And you're giving it to charity. Well, now it's, now it's a slam dunk. Now I could be a good human. I could take care of myself, and I could support local business, and I could do a lot of different things. So it's a great idea, man. I'm glad you took your time with it, because I'm sure in the back of your head, it sounds like you're like me, very analytical, and you innovate and you think, and it sounds like it's probably not perfected in your eyes, but just outside looking in, it's a really great idea, man. And it seems like it's perfected. I'm sure you're working on a lot of things, but it's awesome, man. It's a really cool idea.
Thanks, man, and I appreciate you letting me participate in your show.
No, man, it's been a pleasure. I'm gonna put together a few clips, and I'll send that to you so you can, share as you please on social. But keep cranking the TikTok, man, because that's how I originally found you. That TikTok has grown. So shout out to all the TikTok fans out there.
Yeah. I'm about to make one of those shout out videos because we just reached 20,000 followers. I have 35,000 LinkedIn connections, and a lot of these people are very influential people. LinkedIn has done this much for me. I make a TikTok. I start filming out some of the waters. Give one person a water, film it. It gets 100,000 views in 30 days. It's like we gave out 100,000 waters. And then companies like Warner Brothers call and ask for a quote. And so it's like, with TikTok I've abandoned LinkedIn. I've abandoned Instagram and Facebook.
Again, this is another good example of a disruptor, right? Where we thought Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn was like the future, and then you got this little shitty China company coming over, and and then eventually gets bought out by us Americans.
Not bought out, forced to sell.
Yeah.
The U.S. government was like, wait a minute, now this Chinese company has the best way to spy on everybody. We have to do that.
That's right. Yeah, I even have buddies in the military and the Navy that they still can't use TikTok because that was the whole thing is, they're spying on us.
But now it's Oracle. Doesn't Oracle own that now? I think
they sold it, yeah. Which was, again, a great move because I think a lot of people are on that platform. And who knows, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm sure something will be better than TikTok. But it is interesting.
I love TikTok, but right now, just from a technical standpoint, the reason why I don't think it's scalable for 5 years from now is because right around the corner in the next 12 to 24 months, Apple's launching their first Apple glasses.
I heard about
that. And
so
the first Apple glasses won't be as good, but within a few generations, things will happen such as you won't own a TV anymore because you could project any screen as large as you want on any surface. But so when you're looking through your glasses, a wide angle lens is preferred. Yet Instagram and TikTok are mainly vertical.
Yeah. And
so it'll still work, but it's not going to be as good. So what they'll do is they'll eventually change it when eyeglasses or the smart glasses are in style. Everyone will start filming this way, but all the content that you film vertically people aren't going to want to deal with it because we're going to be so spoiled and we're going to get this much you
Well,
know?
and that's a great point too, because I saw that that coming out, and that's going to be super interesting. Snapchat tried to do something, but it was garbage, and I think Apple's going to probably definitely perfect it in a few generations. But it's funny that you say that, because that was everyone's biggest complaint, is like, well, what happens when? Well, it's going to be the same thing that happened when we used to watch things like this. We used to, and then remember when Instagram and all that came out and they went vertical, everyone's bitching. They're like, I can't believe I have to film things vertical in this. Now everyone's doing vertical. Like we just we just got to change our thing, and
The main takeaway with this, I've used a lot of smart glasses when I was in Silicon Valley, and there's some really good ones today. The main takeaway is that cameras and batteries and processing chips are shrinking, Moore's law all the time. And so those Google glasses and the Snapchat glasses, they look dumb because the components had to be so big. But thanks to Tesla, electric cars, all this stuff going on, everything is shrinking. I don't know if you watched Tesla AI the other week, did you?
yeah.
They showed that fucking computer chip that's this big, and they're like, this is the human brain right here.
Yeah.
But that's just their first chip. I mean, in Moore's law, in 8 years, that thing is going to be this fucking big.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to put that in my brain.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and my wife doesn't, she doesn't follow it, but every time I tell her, she's like, there's no way and I go, babe, if they ask random people to do it, I'm going to be the first one. I'm like, listen, put that in my face. I am so excited.
First people that have that are going to rule the world pretty much.
That's right.
But, I watched the AI day. So I had already ordered a dozen Tesla self-driving Cybertrucks before that.
Cool.
Number one, I'll tell you, you should too. Reason why is it's $100 down,
Right.
and it's fully refundable. If it's not driving itself when it comes out, just get your money back. Right now, if you ordered 10 of them, you would be like number 1.5 millionth person in line. And the self-driving software today is only $10K. But when it's perfected and good, like it will be in 2 years, that software is going to be 25 to 100 grand. So you're getting free equity. The first ones I bought, it was $7K for the package, or reserved. And
Wow.
So, and these are just going to give rides for you the whole time. Teslas today already have a 1,000,000-mile battery. These are going to be 2,000,000-mile batteries. Very few moving parts. And so what we're going to be doing with them is, number one, slapping ads on the whole thing, because that's going to bring in $1,000 a month. And these are going to be delivering free water and groceries to people's houses. And when we're not using it, then we're just going to make money off of them being robo-taxis. And then I saw AI Day the other day. And so now I ordered another 13 of them. Our current total's at 25. I'll probably bump it up to 50.
Oh, that's awesome.
But you should get in the future, everyone's wealth is not going to be measured by your skills. It's going to be measured by the number of robots you own.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's why Musk is saying, someone needs to invent UBI quick, because it's going to be the fastest accelerant to separate the rich and the poor that the world has ever seen, unfortunately.
That's
so
right.
The only way we can get in there, you got to reserve a few Cybertrucks now while you can.
That's right. I mean, think about the very first, people that actually invested money in NASDAQ and the actual stock market. Like, look at where they're at. Obviously most of them are passed away, but look at the amount of wealth they attributed to get in early on that. And I kind of look at, like, not necessarily crypto. We could talk about that on different podcasts and stuff, but that digital age and AI and where Elon's taken it. And he's kind of like been that person to be in the front line, but people are going to follow. And if you don't get in early on anything, not necessarily just his, but if you don't get in early on it, you're going to be missing the boat, because this whole like cash thing is going to be irrelevant. Like that paper crap is going to.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, we're launching a new class of digital. We're going public. We're doing the first triple in business history, which is we're going to have an amazing Kickstarter in January. We're going to launch a Kickstarter every year, because why not?
Why not?
We're going to go public the traditional way in the stock market, but we're going to launch a new class of digital security, which I believe it's as different to the crypto digital space as free water that pays you to drink it is, and consumer products. And we're going to blow that stuff out of the water. And so it's like the best way to describe, I would compare it like the old Nokia Snake phone to the latest iPhone. That's the difference between the crypto market and what we're going to be launching. And so it's just,
Wow, man.
but again, free products enable new rules, and so it's like,
Yeah.
we get to be the first ones to play with these rules.
Yeah, and continue to innovate and add to it, and again, just make things better. I think that's, we talk about team human a lot, and when I first started my podcast, that was my biggest preach, was team human. I even sell shirts on my site that say team human. Like, it's that the whole idea is to make the world a better place for sure, but as we're inhabiting this world and as we're being here, to make it comfortable, to make it eco-friendly, to make it sustainable, and to make it better for everybody. If you're talking free water, you're talking a free grocery store and free products, that's going to be better for the consumer. And you've already explained the B2B model, how that makes sense. So everyone's going to make money, everyone's going to profit, everyone's going to get free goods, and we can live on this earth. And, it could be so much better than what it is now, because it's pretty cool now in a lot of places. It's pretty cool, but there's a lot of opportunities. There's
in
a lot
most
of
categories, this is the coolest it's ever been. I mean, it's
Right.
the safest it's ever. I mean, other than the plastic and some of these
Right.
things of that,
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but it could always be better. It's like,
It's
have you
not
ever,
cool if you're a fishy living in the bottom of the ocean, and it's just
That's
like
right.
all you see is plastic soup.
Yeah, that's right. So but hey, it's cool up here, us egomaniacs on the land. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, but this was cool, man. And again, thanks for the time. We're at a little over an hour and 15, so I could probably go all day with it. So I definitely want to have you back on. And I'd love to know right before maybe you go public. I'd love to talk about what some ideas there are, and we can continue to talk and stay in contact for sure. Because I believe what you're doing is good. I know it's in the early stages, and I know it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you for innovating, man. We need people like you out there.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'd love to be back sometime. And yeah, let's definitely stay in touch offline off of the show.
Yeah, man. Sounds great, Josh. Thanks again, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Have a great day.
All right, man. You too.